safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. This program features live coverage of an African safari.
It's a wonderful Sunday and you are looking at a lovely drongo. And now you're looking at me. I am Trishala. Nice to have you on board as always. And we have Craig on camera with us. Yes, we do. So it is completely 100% live and interactive. So you can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or of course the YouTube chat stream to communicate with us. Now I have my hand up here because the sun is beating down on us today. It truly is. It's about 32 degrees Celsius, about 89 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is really, really hot. That means that our plan for today is, of course, to look in any shady spots and to look up into the trees and maybe find some sleepy, very hot leopards. Of course, also to check the watering holes, but I have taken the west of the reserve at the moment, and we have Jimmy who will be joining us shortly, and you'll meet him, and he's taking the east. We'll also hopefully be joined by Lauren very soon up in the Masai Mara as well. So lots to be excited about today. Now we do know that Thandi has moved off into another area, and so have the lions into an area that we can't go into. But the lions move so quickly through Djuma and sort of straight through it into the other properties. So we may be lucky and we'll be able to see them as well. All of us are looking for patches of shade to stop in because of this heat. So we know that the animals would possibly be doing the same. I'm seeing a few birds flying around, but at the moment, I don't think I can hear anything. Let's listen for a second. Oh, it's very quiet at the moment, very quiet. But that'll change as soon as the sun goes down. That will change. So stay tuned. Who knows what will happen? So while I am on the west, or in the west, I will be looking for tracks of Hukumuri and Shidulu, of course, with hopefully cubs in tow, which would be awesome, I think. Now remember, we had that skittish male around yesterday as well. Now he doesn't seem to stay in any particular area. Let's try to avoid all the bits of dung. We try to avoid the bits of dung because there may be dung beetles and other little creatures that are in there, and if we drive straight over them, it's not very nice for them, is it? So maybe you guys can tell me what you'd like to see and what you'd expect to see today, considering the heat. Remember, use the hashtag Safari Live and let me know. If you're requesting a pangolin, I suggest you don't tweet. Oh, it seems that Jimmy is up and running as well. So why don't I send you over to him so he can say good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Djuma here in the Greater Kruger National Park. And Trishala, good luck with that skittish leopard, and yeah, avoid those dung beetles. I'm Jimmy, and behind camera is Seb with his thumb. And our plan this afternoon is to try and stick in the shade as much as possible and move between some of the permanent water, because it's 32 degrees here this afternoon, about double the temperature of the Mara. So not too much is going to be active while this sun is beating down on us. You can hear there's not too much bird calls either. And so we're going to amble through past different water holes and see what we can find. And hopefully we can come up on some elephant or some other antelope drinking, and hopefully a a cat or two. So let's proceed and move on through this heat. Not too many clouds in the sky today. It's Matthew, I got, did you say how hot was it here?
I think so, yes.
If it was the question, it is 32 degrees in the shade, and that's, oh, sorry, time. What time is it here? Okay, it is now 22:04 in the afternoon. South African time. There's some nice shade going into, so if anything's going to be standing around till it starts getting active, it will be in these areas where there's a little bit of density and shade. Just makes it makes our job finding them a little bit harder, but we're gonna keep trying to find you something through here, and in the meantime we're going to send you to Trishala, who has a surprise for you on her camera.
Oh my gosh, guys, I've got an ostrich. This is the first one I've seen in Djuma. This is amazing. Just watch it there coming through the thickets. Should see a gap there in a second. Oh, there's a pair of them. How cool is this? Now we are sort of in an area that's a lot more grassy and a little less bushy. So this is why they're probably on this side and not so much where further down in the south. Wow. So this is obviously a pair. Wow, let's try and get a little bit closer, but I don't want to scare them off. What do you think, Craig? I reckon we can. I think we can. Oh, you guys are as excited as I am, I think. This is quite special. So ostriches prefer this type of landscape. You can see it's quite open and grassy. And that's obviously because of their massive size. They need to be able to move freely, and if they're in the bushes and the thicket, that won't be able to happen. There they are. Stunning. Giraffe Girl, you say you've never seen this before? A pair of ostriches right here in Djuma? Well, I'll tell you what, I haven't seen it before, not on Djuma. I've seen ostriches before. There they go, feeding. Hi, guys. Welcome to Djuma. Is this your first experience here? And you've already made it to live TV or online TV. Go, guys. Now, these are, of course, the largest and heaviest birds, and they're very ancient birds. Seek truth. You'd like to know if it's a mum and a young one. Oh, look at that prance. Look at that. Yes, yes. It's a bit of a model. You asked if this is a mum and a young one. You can tell that there's a bit of a size difference, but I don't think this is a mum and a young one. I think this is a pair. Look at that. Now, the females tend to be slightly browner. So this does look like two males. Oh, look at that. Look at that pose. I always think they look like ballet dancers. They've got these stockings and then these very extravagant tutus on almost. Of course, the neck doesn't look very much like a ballet dancer, especially not when it's down there. But look at that. Now, they mostly eat plant material or vegetation, so that's what this one is going after at the moment. Very, very cool. Omkar, you'd like to know how tall they are? Well, the males can get up to 2 meters tall, so if I had to stand in front of them, they'd tower over me. I am only about 1.58 meters tall, so they would definitely tower over me. Wow. Guys, this is so amazing to me. Now, I saw an ostrich not too long ago in the town very close by here, and this ostrich started to do a bit of a dance to me and whack his head from side to side against his body. And in the time that I was thinking, what are you doing? He sprinted towards me, and there was just the fence in between us. So these guys can actually be quite intimidating if they decide that they don't like you. Check them out, just pulling little bits of seeds from those grasses, and of course little fresh vegetation that's right at the bottom. Wow, now it looks like one ostrich with 2 necks. Absolutely stunning. So like we spoke about, 2 meters tall, about 100 kgs for the males, about 90 for the females. Oh, look at that breeze. Now, these guys are not designed for flight. And even though you can think that they probably have a really big wingspan if they had to open it up, their feathers are actually not designed for flight. Or rather, they've been reduced in terms of the sort of barbs and hooks that hold feathers together. They don't have that very much. And if you've seen an ostrich feather, it's not intact, like in the same way as other birds' feathers are, and rigid and hard in order to get the air to flow over them. These feathers are very, very soft, and they're not really linked together by those barbs like the other feathers are. Look at it. Hello. Look at how brightly colored that beak is. Wow, the silence of the bush has finally given us something wonderful. Isn't this nice? I am so excited. I'm just going to call this in because this is quite a rare sighting. Maybe some other people would like to join us, and I'm sure a wider audience would like to join us as well. So let me call this in quickly, and then we can invite some more people on board here. Good afternoon, mobile stations. It's Trish from Wild Earth. I have located a pair of ostriches on Sandy Patch. Just where the junction of Aubrey's and Sandy Patch is, maybe moving about 100 meters west. Wow, yes, I think we could have some more people on board. This is truly rare. Ah, so someone else has just told me that these two have been here earlier in the day and they've already seen them. Copy, they're lovely. Really, really nice. When you see something like this, sometimes it's just really cool to just sit and watch them, because all of the things that you read in the books are just nothing compared to sitting and watching them in their way that they behave. Hello and welcome everybody. We are here in Djuma Private Game Reserve and we have quite a rare sighting. It's a pair of ostriches right here in the western section of the park. Isn't this beautiful? Now we don't often see them here, which is why it's such an exciting moment. And they're here in the short grass, in the grassland on this side. Wow. And you can see the tall legs and the long necks. Absolutely stunning. Look at those big feathers. And they're feeding along quite happily on all the vegetation as they go. They've been very good to us. Absolutely beautiful. Is that arrow or owl? You say that they're as big as trees? They certainly can be as big as trees. 2 meters tall, that's what we said. See this one starting. Oh, put that neck to good use. You can scratch all the way around. Now I think what we're looking at is actually 2 males when you get a sight of the other one. Ooh. Karen, you say they are huge. They are huge. If you think, look at him there with this, standing with the neck up straight. Now you can get a good idea of the height there. That is a tall bird. Very tall bird right there. We don't often get to see that. You see them in more of this relaxed pose. Even that, he's still a bit stiff with the neck held up high. Wow. Absolutely stunning. Now these are very ancient birds. And they are huge. Males to about 100 kgs, females to about 90 kgs. Really, really big guys. Now I'm saying that these are both males because the males are mostly black and they have a bit of white on the wings and of course a white bit on the tail, which is what we're seeing there. That's a bit dirty at the moment. And for the females, it's a bit more browny, a bit grayish. Very cool. Barbara, you'd like to know how, I think, related the penguins are to the ostriches? Well, of course, they are both birds, so they do fit, I suppose, into the same group, but they have... how much water do they need compared to penguins? Well, of course, penguins need a whole lot of water because they are water dependent in order to eat and survive and breed, whereas Nina, cancel penguins, she says. You mean ostriches. How much is the requirement of ostriches? I am not quite sure, but I would think that they would need some water. We see birds always near the dams and things like that looking for water, so I would assume that they would need sun, but I would check up for you definitely. Now I'm going to reposition because they're still around here and they're moving quite slowly and they're being very good to us. So let's do this quickly. Now they are quite used to the heat and you do see them in sort of arid areas. So they are not so much looking for shade as much as I am, are they? Ah, there we go. Here we've got a small gap. How's that, Craig? Very cool. Glendy, you'd like to know what I would suppose our predators would do if they'd come across these ostriches. Did I hear that correctly? Sorry, I was just repositioning at the same time there. See, they've noticed us and they're quite still at the moment. I would suppose that they may try to hunt these ostriches, but ostriches are really, really big. And they also have quite dangerous claws on their feet, to the extent where I once read a story about a guy who had an interaction with an ostrich and it went foul, unfortunately. And the ostrich had actually ripped through the front of his shirt and his leather belt. So that'll give you an idea of exactly how strong and sharp those claws of the ostrich are. Look at those knobbly knees. Now, lots of them can actually gather together, but what we're seeing here is just a pair for the moment. Even though they do mostly eat vegetation, they have been known to eat termites every now and then, especially the juveniles. Ah, there they go. Walking away, the pair, head held high, absolutely stunning. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this. And remember that if you'd like to keep on watching, you can go onto YouTube and just type in Safari Live and you can keep on watching this completely live. There'll be these ostriches and many, many other animals. So please do. So cool, guys, don't you think so? Now look how they hold their head just above the ground. I think on average they hold their head about 30 centimeters above the ground, so it's really easy to just snap that. Ooh. Ooh. Now if you look at actually the way that it just moved, you could see that if it were running and being chased by a predator like we were asked earlier, it could easily change directions and sort of move from side to side. But I've said this before, they can be quite intimidating, and they look quite intimidating, especially if they want to give you a bit of a display and they start swinging their necks around and hitting the sides of their body. There they go behind that bush. Let's try and get a little bit of a better view of them. I want to make the most of this because it's something we don't see very often. They seem to be fairly comfortable. Oh, they've moved up on the other side now. Oh, there's a bit of an animal path in front of us. So we can use that to get to them. Also don't want to... yeah. You know, I just had this feeling to come to the West today, and I'm so glad that I did. Okay, I'm just going to get over this, and then we will stop. Sorry if you see any blurriness or pixelation. We're just having a small difficulty at the moment. So I'm just going to stay put so we can get good signal coming through to you guys. Really huge. Wow, it really is quite awe-inspiring to be in front of them. because they are big. Let's go further along the road. Let's just check with Nina if our signal is all good. Is it, Nina? If it is, we can move off. It's quite nice because you can see their heads above the bushes just a bit. Well, they seem to have moved off, so I will try to keep up with them. But in the meantime, let me send you to Lauren, who has finally gotten out. So let's go up to the Masai Mara.
Good afternoon. We are here after all in the Mara. We just had some gremlin issues to deal with, but ostriches in Djuma? Ostriches in Djuma? I can't believe it. I'm so happy for Trishala. That is indeed awesome. Now, of course, my name is Lauren, and on camera I have Bungee Cord. And today we are out. It is extremely hot, and we have managed to solve all of our technological issues. So we are indeed on our way to investigate some lions. I don't know what lions that are yet, but we will indeed investigate a little bit further and hopefully figure out who they are. Our initial plan was to go to the border and visit the beautiful Lamai brothers. That is a coalition of 2 brothers of cheetah. However, I think we better stay in the safe zone today. The border is very far away due to the fact that these gremlins might come back and try to battle with us again. So we're going to keep our plan a little bit more local, but I promise you within the next few days I will get to these cheetah brothers and we will be able to explore them a little bit further. So for now, lions will have to be the case. Now, last night here in the Masai Mara, we had an absolutely incredible and torrential storm. It nearly blew all of our tents over, to be honest, and wow. It was incredible. So I do believe the rains are very much on their way now and the season is starting to change. Luckily, we were all tucked up inside together watching a movie, so it's absolutely fine, but it was an incredible storm. So it's been very quiet in the Mara front today. So we're going to try and do as much exploring and investigating as we can for now. But other than that, I don't have any real updates. Now, I'm not sure if Patrick this morning was able to give you a little bit more details about the giraffe incident, but he actually went and checked, and the mother nor the dead calf remain anymore. So the mother has indeed gone. We don't know where she's gone, but I do believe at some point she just will have moved off. As far as I can tell, the North clan were really growing in numbers, and indeed they managed to get hold of the calf and claim it for their own. So nothing remains there. The mother is not there. There's a hyena in sight, and there's also not a carcass. So as sad as that may sound, indeed the situation is over. The mother held out for as long as she absolutely could, but indeed the situation for now is of course over. So that makes me feel a little bit better that the mother can rest, shall we say. Yes, that makes me feel a little bit better. So that was my update on the giraffe situation for now. But other than that, I'm just bumbling, and hopefully we will come across something exciting and the rains do stay off. I am absolutely terrified for these rains that are due to come. Not looking forward to driving in them, but you know, I didn't even bring my welly boots from Scotland. I do have a multicoloured selection of welly boots and I didn't bring them. So indeed, we are going to bumble on for now and hopefully get to these lions soon. But you guys are going to go back down to South Africa to see what Jimmy is up to.
Well done, Trishala. Nice to see some ostrich in this part of the world, not too common. And welcome back, Lauren. I'm glad you survived the storm up in East Africa. We're just moved through quite a big drainage line and had a lot of elephant tracks. So we're going to try and get around and follow up and see if we have any luck sometimes up on these crests you get some big trees with some shade. So we'll be moving up to that area. We also had a small antelope down in this drainage line called a bushbuck, but they're quite elusive. We try to stop and see if we could get it to stick around, but they don't. They're not very used to camera. They're a bit camera shy. So sadly, we couldn't hold on to it. We back out into the heat here, and we should get some big shade on the top of these ridges. It's very interesting how Lily, the hardest animal to catch on camera, I would say in this area, probably pangolin, some of the nocturnal stuff. So I would say pangolin, porcupine to a certain extent, and a pangolin is a scaly anteater, and they're very nocturnal, also quite very difficult to find. But once you find them, they're very slow moving, so they're not too difficult to follow. And if they sense any danger, they'll just roll up into a ball. I've seen a couple of them, and funny enough, a few times I've found them from predators actually finding them and playing with them. So that's a way. If you follow predators, they'll sometimes come across them and roll, and they instinctively roll up, and then they'll play with them, and then you can go in and see what's going on, and that's how you often find pangolin. So I would say pangolin, probably one of the more difficult things. And then also probably hard to get on film is sometimes different animals hunting and killing, because you often done at night and you don't want to affect the hunt, so that would be very difficult unless it's a diurnal animal. Often cheetah will normally always hunt in daylight hours or full moon. They've been known to hunt in full moon, so they're a little bit easier to catch on camera hunting. Leopard are pretty diverse. They'll hunt day and night, so they've been good captures of leopard hunting in the day. So yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that's difficult to catch on film. Births, obviously, different animals giving birth, especially your smaller stuff. See how hot it's getting these. I'm just going to point out something to you, Seb, if you can just shine onto these. Yeah, I'm just going to show you. There's definitely moisture needed in this part, because you can see these, what we call round leaf teaks, and when they're small, they're very shrubby. You can see how they're wilting with the heat, and they'll only really perk up when we get some more rain. In this area, they seldom get to be big trees, because elephants absolutely love them. It's like elephant pudding, these. And they get a nice yellow flower in summer. So speaking of elephants, we're going to continue to find some elephants, but we're going to send you to Lauren, who apparently has some for you.
I do indeed have many elephants, extremely happy elephants actually, who seem to have been wallowing and splashing around in some sort of puddle that I'm not quite able to see, and they are obviously escaping this very intense it's getting not midday anymore, a little bit later than midday, but we have a bunch of happy elephants here. And obviously elephants are highly social animals, and indeed they actually make use of such an array of communication, from smelling, communicating verbally, listening, rumbling, in all sorts of ways, even touching that we're not aware of. And actually, this is one of the things that most fascinates me, non-verbal communication. And this is why I love looking at animals so much. So believe it or not, I actually have a history of sign language. From a child, I actually grew up signing. Now, I am not deaf, and no one in my family is deaf, but we grew up signing for the deaf. British Sign Language, of course. Unfortunately, I am not familiar with American Sign Language. But let me reintroduce myself. Bunge, are you ready for this? And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean and why I am telling you this. So, this is how I used to speak to deaf people when we were at home. We would greet each other completely silently. So it would, of course, be, hello. How are you? Good afternoon. My name is Lauren. And this has just fascinated me since I've been a child, how people and animals can communicate completely non-verbally. And that's exactly what these elephants are doing here. So we do hear them make noises, we do hear them make rumbles and grumbles and even trumpets. Actually, elephants can be very verbal, and they can, of course, be very noisy. But they also have a huge other range of communications that's really hard to get grip of. They can actually communicate seismically. So what that means is that the tip of an elephant's trunk actually has layers of cells in it that are extremely sensitive to vibrations. So they're actually able to detect movement of one another and their surroundings from those really sensitive cells on the tips of their trunk and even on the bottom of their foot. So this is another form of communication that humans, I guess, can just struggle to get their head around. I can definitely struggle to get my head around that, because obviously this is not a capability of humans, and it is just absolutely, utterly fascinating. I mean, not even that, the frequencies that the elephants can use to communicate with one another. Of course, some we can hear. We can hear very loudly. Ooh. That was a noise of some sort there. But of course, they actually use frequencies that are even so low for humans to hear. They can be as low as about 12 hertz, and that is completely out of the human range. So this whole herd here could be communicating to one another in extremely low frequency rumbles, and we're just obviously not able to pick it up. And this is indeed how a herd of elephants is actually able to stay together and find one another if they do get lost. They're communicating in all sorts of different ways. And just to give you an indication, human male's voice actually fluctuates around 110 hertz. So if you think of 110 hertz for a human male's voice, and of course, all males do sound different, I am aware of that, 110 hertz, and then you think about an elephant rumbling at 12 hertz. And that is incredibly different, an incredibly different range there that humans are obviously just not capable to imagine. And this is probably what's happening right here. Mariko's asking, can an elephant be deaf? What a fantastic question. And honestly, I don't 100% know the answer, but I would believe they could be. If they were born, if there was maybe a genetic problem since birth, I guess an elephant could be. Or maybe if it damaged its ear in some way, I guess indeed it could be. But an animal like this could survive and thrive because they have so many other forms of communication through these vibrations that they're able to detect, through touching, through visual. As long as they've got their eyes, they can see one another. As long as they've got their trunks, they can touch one another. So indeed, even if an elephant was deaf,
I really don't think it would hinder its life much at all. And this is what fascinates me about animals. Humans are so reliant on certain forms of communication that we forget to think animals have so many different ways of communicating, ways that we don't even think of, because humans are so used to thinking in our very human-like ways. So I don't know of any deaf elephants, but I do believe that it's definitely possible. So I will indeed check that out for sure. Just what a fascinating topic. And it's just fascinated me since I was a child. How can we communicate non-verbally? And I guess humans do on a daily basis anyway, through body language, eye gazes, facial expressions, all sorts of things that maybe we're not even aware of. Lady Starfire, good to hear your name. Do elephants with missing trunk tips, that's quite a mouthful, have trouble communicating? And no, they don't. And it goes back to the fundamental part that we've actually seen quite a few elephants missing the tips of their trunk. And although they maybe have to adjust their body posture or adjust their mannerisms in order to feed, they can still use their trunk, because it's only the tip that is missing. So they can still use that in body language or touching one another. And indeed, the soles of the feet do contain these special cells for detecting vibrations as well. So it's not just the tip of the trunk. So as long as they can still feed and they can still drink, the trunk will still operate. So indeed, I do not think that would affect them in terms of communication. Elephants also have body language that we can even read. We know when we can leave an elephant alone, or possibly when an elephant's not happy. So they can also read each other's body language. And there's just so many ways that these fantastic animals can communicate. And I just think elephants in general are incredible that way. And I'm sure there's more that we don't even know, that we haven't even learned about these fantastic mammals. But indeed, they have such a variety of ways to communicate that even if, say, for example, one is deaf or the other one has lost a tip of its trunk, then indeed I really do not think that would hinder the elephant's lifestyle at all. What a lovely sighting. They've all just completely got wet, cooled down, and they're on the move, feeding and moving at the same time. They're actually all around us. We've got some to the other side as well. Gary's asking, do elephants communicate with other animals? That's quite a tricky question to answer. I'm not sure it's even possible to answer, because it's not possible really for interspecies communication to work quite like that. So, oh, Bungay just pointed out some more. We've got a tiny small one over there as well. So yes, it doesn't work quite like that, because of course, if a lion was to approach these elephants right now, they would indeed react in the elephant way, if that makes sense. So they would most likely herd together, they would most likely make themselves look even bigger than they already do, they would trumpet, they would charge, their tails would go erect, they would definitely show that they're not happy the lion or lions are present. But in terms of communicating with the lion, I do not indeed think that is possible. But they will show their dislike for the lion's presence. And there's a lot of footage online where you see elephants really showing their dislike of other animals coming far too close to them. So indeed, they would communicate it, but in their own elephant way, which I am sure a lion would probably understand, because it's very visual, it's very loud, and indeed, these are very big mammals. So I am more than